let's get you the updates on this big giant mess that we are speaking of, what's happening at multiple airports across the country. But this is now coming across as a relief for the passengers. The Civil Aviation Ministry has now stepped in the ongoing IndiGo operational crisis. And we are learning that the Aviation Ministry has invoked its regulatory powers to rein in soaring airfares. As the government says that some airlines charging unusually high prices during the disruption, putting passengers under stress. And a fresh directive has now been issued that mandates strict adherence to the newly prescribed fare caps across all affected routes. Let's get connected with Isha on this. Isha, in a way, it would be like the other airlines were taking advantage of the misery that the passengers have been put in. And what are these caps as far as these limits will now stay in place until the situation now stabilizes?
Amita, IndiGo has stated that they've asked for the deadline of 20th February, and that is when they are stating that the situation will normalize. But now the Ministry of Civil Aviation has stepped in and stated that all other airlines will not skyrocket their prices. But also a fact check of the situation right now, requesting Tanvi to also zoom in. I'm checking for a flight from New Delhi to Kolkata for tomorrow, and you can see that a SpiceJet flight is costing 63,000 for a domestic flight. This is a domestic flight which is costing 63,000, and a 63,000 flight is excessively expensive, and it sometimes costs that much to travel to different countries. So definitely now the Civil Aviation Ministry coming in and capping these fares. In the past as well, DGCA issued a mandate during the festive season to ensure that fares don't skyrocket, but we have been seeing that we just saw right now as well how high the fares are because of the crisis at the airport. And on the airport we've seen harrowing visuals of passengers struggling and complaining that there is no communication from the side of the airline, and that has completely derailed their lives and schedules. So right now the Ministry of Civil Aviation coming in with a much needed relief for the passengers and keeping them first.
All right. And even if we take a look as far as, flights which are like over 4 hours long, international flights, and I'm currently checking, say, for example, Delhi to Bangkok at the airport there, we're looking at majorly flights that start from around 22,000 rupees. And imagine domestic airfares have been skyrocketing to such an extent that international travel now proves to be cheaper than your domestic travel. Please do stay on with us, Isha. We're looking at other aspects as well, where the Ministry of Civil Aviation has now taken measures for immediate implementation by airlines, especially IndiGo, to resolve the severe disruption in flight schedule and to stabilize services without delay. Now, 2 such orders have been issued to mitigate the problems faced by the public and restore stability as soon as possible. And it is now expected that all flight schedules would stabilize and begin returning to normal by midnight tonight. Because, Isha, this is another development. Full services, stability, and that should return in a couple of days. Are we looking at any improvement at hand already that has started to come in?
A 24/7 control monitoring system was set up at several airports, and one of the control rooms was also being monitored by the Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu himself to ensure that air travel can crawl back to normalcy. In fact, today in the morning, Amita, we saw that Delhi airport came out with an advisory stating that operations are getting back to normal. In fact, we haven't seen as much of a chaos at the airport as of now. We're seeing that operations are slowly hinting back to normal. It of course is taking time because there is a lot of backlog for IndiGo to clear, because yesterday flights did not ply up till 12 a.m. at night. So for hours, in fact for an entire day almost, the flights did not ply. And not just that, other airports as well, it was a cascading effect that led to cancellations at other airports as well. So there is a lot of backlog is what we have been learning so far.
All right, please just stay on with us, Isha, because all of these developments are now coming in, directions that has now been given, and every possible measure, including rule exemptions as announced by the DGCA, that will be taken up to restore the schedules and also to ensure that there is stability to mitigate the public's problems. But the Civil Aviation Ministry, at the center of the controversy, woke up to the chaos 4 days later, since IndiGo said that it wasn't in an immediate position to fix things. At least before the 10th of February, the problem, according to them, will continue. But the government seems to have buckled in and overturned the new pilot rules, which essentially were actually instituted for flight safety. Now, is this where the pressure that was put up by this private airline on the government? Because they've ordered now a high-level inquiry into the mess and has directed the airlines and all of the aviation authorities to take immediate measures.
Sir, today we have seen the worst hit at all airports during the IndiGo crisis.
Yes.
First of all, how do you see the whole situation? What is the ministry doing right now?
So I think the fact is very clear that the new FDTL norms that were introduced by November 1st, 2025, all the airlines were supposed to comply for it, and they had good time to comply also. IndiGo, for some reason, they had a miscalculation of the flight crew and the rostering and everything. That was why the effect came into visibility from December 3rd. We have seen both the days, 3rd and 4th, a lot of delays happening. But I can tell you that right since the issue started happening, the ministry has taken cognizance of it, and we went into immediate mode of looking into how best we can normalize the situation. Because we have observed a lot of passengers waiting at the airports for huge amount of time. And we were very strict in that sense that this should be normalized at the earliest. So airlines, especially IndiGo, and then airport operators, all the necessary stakeholders, we were in continuous engagement with them and keeping the passengers in mind. Our whole interest was to provide the most comfort and convenience to the passengers who were stuck at this time. So we have instructed our airport operators, let it be food, water or accommodation, everything should be arranged. And there should be no delay in communication, especially because the communication leads to certain gaps. So that all we wanted to take care. And then we on the airlines part, we have observed this miscalculation from the IndiGo part, and we have ordered a strict inquiry into it. The inquiry is going to start, and as we find the details of the inquiry, we are going to take strict action. That is one side of it. But it is we also have to ensure that the people who are already booked, who already want to travel, it is the holiday season also, and there is a lot of travel that usually happens at this time. So we have to cater for them. So for that, IndiGo, what it needs to do, we have done thorough consultation with all the stakeholders. In fact, I've sat down with the pilots body also, everyone I've sat down, and we have decided that the FDTL norms, we'll keep it in abeyance for some time, and we'll have a phased approach. DGCA ministry will be monitoring what IndiGo is doing, how it is going to get back to the new FDTL norms. We are going to ensure that is going to be done, but in a phased manner so that the passengers' inconvenience is at the least. And why you would have seen more cancellations today, because it was a calculated approach that the backlogs that were there yesterday and day before, people who are waiting to go to their destinations, who wanted to go and who was emergency travel, we wanted to take them.
Sir, but after FDTL abeyance, that upgraded FDTL abeyance that has put in place, now there are talks, it seems like that the government is under pressure and that the IndiGo, there's a IndiGo is the one.
I want to clarify this very, very straightforwardly. There is no hesitation.
All right. So who's at fault and where does the responsibility lie? Because the government is not alone in this. As far as the CEO of IndiGo Airlines is concerned, 4 days after, and after thousands of flight cancellations and protests have taken place, he's finally had the courage to come out and speak. Even then, he's called them as operational disruptions, where he seems to be issuing an apology to the passengers. The airline had 2 years to meet with the global standards and stick to the new flight duty norms. Did they do that? No. Did they ensure that the pilots and the crew were properly rested when they fly aircraft with thousands of passengers? Now, will this, as far as when it comes to this withdrawal is coming to light, now will the passenger safety be compromised for profit?
Earlier measures of the last few days regrettably have proven not to be enough. So we've decided today for a reboot of all our systems and schedules, resulting in the highest number of cancellations so far.
All right. Amid all of those protests, let's focus now on another round of breaking update coming in, and this